Hi there. Thank you.
Oh.
Let's do it again. Take two.
Hi.
Hi there.
Hi.
What the hell?
I know. I don't know.
It's
My
Peter
throat.
Brady.
I don't know why my throat's
Oh
doing
my
this.
God.
I think this happened. You know what is so funny?
No. Hi there. My name is Bennie.
And my name is Valerie. But you know what's really funny?
Okay. Yes. No.
Whenever we start a podcast, we do this. Like, we're chatting so fluently, and then all of a sudden the mic goes on, and we're like, hey. Welcome to Wholehearted Living.
Yes, welcome to Wholehearted Living, folks. We're glad you're with us. We are doing something that we have not, that we've been doing for the last, I don't know, couple months now, where we are actually going through a book. It's a Brené Brown book called The Gifts of Imperfection. And so we've encouraged you to join us. We are currently on Guidepost 8.
And Guidepost is basically chapter. But when you think of chapter, don't you think of like a lot of pages in the chapter?
Yes, normally.
This is so...
Well, except for novels. Do you notice that novels, or some books, it's like, it seems like, well, I don't read novels very
I don't
much,
either.
So
I have no
never
idea.
mind.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
No, but these are it's such easy reading if you're not a reader, but you do like to get helpful information about wellness and what have you. And
she's an easy reader. She's an easy writer. She writes
easy reading.
Yeah. Wow. I can do this English thing. So.
But these are only like 3 or 4 pages, maybe 5 in each guidepost, which is so cool.
The Gifts of Imperfection refers to the fact that we are humanity are imperfect, and sometimes that leads. And if you don't know anything about Brené Brown, she's a shame researcher. And so she approaches it from the idea that all of us have some kind of shame in our life, and how to deal with that.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it is because if you're someone like me, type A, perfectionist, OCD, it really helps you tap into that inner part of you that you sometimes can't shake.
And what's weird is that sometimes you might even read a title or something and it kind of catches you, but at the same time, at least for me, not sometimes, but I feel like, I wonder how that's going to relate. And then you read the pages and you go, oh my gosh, that's
very true.
I very much see what's going on there.
Very true.
Anywho, tell us about this new person in your life, or not person, thing, entity. Did you tell us about that last week?
Let's see. No, well, I did. I told you guys that we were going to get a new dog, and we did. We got her Sunday. We have a little Maggie in our house, and she's a joy. She's simply a joy. She's a little puppy. And I remember you looking at me, and I don't know if you said it on the podcast or before we started the podcast, but you're like, why a puppy?
Yeah,
why didn't you wait and get like a 2-year-old dog or whatever? I didn't really think that part through, to be honest with you. But I also was like, no.
It's like the pregnant teenager. I didn't really think this through.
Well, part of me was like, I didn't want, because we got Buttercup at 2, and I didn't want a dog that had maybe been abused, because Buttercup was a little...
Oh, you did mention this. Yeah, I remember you saying that.
So anyway, we did get the puppy, and she is at a puppy stage. But she's also such a sweetheart. Like, you know, I almost thought about bringing her tonight, but then I realized, okay, she's not fully vaccinated. I'm not going to bring her because of your dog and what have you. But she would literally just sit on my lap the whole time we did the podcast, even though she's a puppy and can be up and about and chew on something, or even my own feet as I walk. She loves to snuggle. And so she's a joy.
Yeah. She's very cute, at least from the photos that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I would like you to talk to me in about 8 months or a couple months when she realizes, oh, I could run around.
I know. Well,
that's when I'm going, oh,
okay,
God.
Well, here's the thing. So the first few days I'm like, well, this is easy. Like, puppy, what is that? You know? And then today, okay, so here's the thing, you guys. As you guys have already heard, if you listen to us, I go home from work on Fridays and clean the house. Kylie had a voice lesson, and she does it, what's it called when you do it? Like
over online?
Virtually. Thank you.
Virtually.
I lost a word. And she does it virtually, and she usually does it like at 11 in the morning or whatever. Well, today the only time that was available was 3, so she took it. And you guys already know, you as in Benny and Patty and Iggy, but you viewers might not know, or your listeners might not know, she does not like to sing in front of us in the house. So she can perform in front of thousands, but will not sing in front of us.
Thousands.
Yeah. Well,
millions. That's what you said that one time. Anyway.
So anyway, long story short, I said,
Way
well,
too late.
I come home from work and I clean. So you're going to have to sing in front of me. And she's like, okay. She was actually fine. She was like, okay. Well, if I'm in your way, then maybe I can do it in the garage. I go, no. I'm feeling like I might be in your way. So, anyway, this morning I felt bad. And so I was like, I want her to do her best. And so, and not feel like, oh, mom's around here, mom's in the bathroom cleaning. So I got up, I rested for a few, didn't go to the gym, and I cleaned my house before I went to work.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So now bringing the puppy back into the story, because I had my big flowy pajama pants on, I think she thought because I was going from room to room, kind of rushing through, that I was playing with her, because she kept grabbing at the pants every time I walked, and like the grab with her teeth and like shake it like she was.
Yeah.
And then every now and then she would get my skin because she would like grab hard, and I'm like, okay, this is the puppy stage everybody's talking about.
Well, I remember when Adivina was a wee little puppy, and we had 2 steps just literally 2 steps. Well, we had 3 floors to get to the house, but to inside the house, there was 2 steps. And it was kind of cool because everywhere he went, it was like, this new place. It was this new thing. And he would go move to there, and then he would kind of investigate.
Yeah.
And then he would get to the steps, and it was literally like a wall. Because as far as he was, if you don't know, I have a pug, so he was tiny.
Yeah.
So he'd get to the steps, and then he would be like, nah, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Then he'd turn around and do whatever. And then once he started like, okay, I'm kind of bored with this.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why, I taught him how to get up steps. So then he learns how to get up the steps. Then he would come down the steps, but he couldn't go down. So
Right.
he'd go to the steps, and he was still real cautious.
Right.
I don't know when it was, if it was a couple weeks or whatever. But then the next thing you know, it's like he doesn't even see the steps. He just flies right over him and flies back and forth. And he just kept running, and every single thing was a toy.
Yeah.
I can't tell you in those days we drank, I don't know what you call it, soda pop, and we had like a Diet Coke,
Can.
No, the
the thing to
plastic
keep it cold.
the 2-gallon thing.
Right.
Oh my God, the 2 liters.
2 gallons?
And he would, oh my God, he would play for it for 20 minutes, but then which was incredibly cute, but incredibly irritating because it goes,
yeah,
and and then he just would find everything and.
No, and it's funny.
And then he'd
you said
whine
that.
at night. He'd be like, "Where are you?
I know.
Where are you?" That's what his.
He was saying that.
He would actually sound like that. Well, because we put him in a different place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Okay.
Well, that was a good story, wasn't it?
No, I hear you though, because because Maggie would sit on the couch and she was afraid. You can tell that she was looking to come down, but she wouldn't come down. And then the last few days, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to try it," and now she just jumps off. And so before I would.
Wow, that seems fast.
Yeah,
was it that fast?
I would leave her on the blanket. I would leave her on the blanket, and I would be able to go do whatever in the kitchen or whatever, and she would just be put. I wouldn't have to worry about her.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Oh, you're in the kitchen. Oh, great. Now we have to like."
But that's what's so interesting about puppies, at least, is like he loved to be on our laps. Like he just absolutely loved it. But once he was done with it, he was done with it. I mean, it's not like, okay, well, I'm going to go chill out over there. Like nowadays, the dude doesn't understand moving fast. I mean, nowadays, the only time he gets excited is if we're going to give him something to eat. Otherwise, it's like, hey, I'm going to sleep over there.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, I got to move. I'm going to sleep over there now.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's just like his whole life.
Yeah.
But he, in those days, it was like, oh, I want to sleep on your lap. I got to be with somebody the entire time. And then when I'm not sleeping, I am running around.
Exactly.
I am going to play and freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I look forward to hearing you in future podcasts going, oh my gosh, what were we thinking? No, I'm just kidding.
No way, Jose.
No way, Jose.
She's my love.
Wow. This is amazing. It's a love story.
I love her.
Okay. Well, anything else? I have a couple weeks more of school before I take my 3-week break. My wife is excited that I finally can do something around the house. And it's been really crazy.
You got a honey-do list going?
I do. Well, my own little head. She hasn't told me to do anything. She's actually incredibly supportive far too supportive. I have a feeling once I graduate, though, she's gonna be like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's gonna be expecting a lot of things because I haven't even been cooking. I usually cook. I mean, in the old days, I cooked 2-3 times a week because I would barbecue or smoke something and do stuff like that. That was most of the way I cooked. And then I could do other things, run errands because my job is more flexible and all that kind of stuff.
And you can't do any of that now.
I don't do any of that nowadays. But oh my gosh, one thing I discovered is Speechify. Have you ever heard of this thing called Speechify?
I have never heard of that.
Speechify. This is amazing. So you can download PDFs. You can put it inside this app and then it reads it to you.
Oh.
Now, why this is so huge is that I still read a lot, so that's not the issue. But there are times when you can't, like today, I used it while I was making lunch.
Yeah.
Because you can't read and make lunch. So I could just put it on and it was reading to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can use it when I work out. I can use it because there are books that read to you and there's other things. And I know all the people are going to say iPhones, oh, you can just highlight and then say speak, or you could have it read the screen. It doesn't do it very well. It's not intuitive. It's kind of a pain because if somebody texts you, it stops and then it doesn't go back. And blah, blah, blah. The Speechify thing is like, it is the coolest thing since sliced bread. And so I am so very excited because it will actually make it so that I could read a lot faster. So, get things done. So, and you could change the speed. You could say, okay, I want it to read it really fast or slow or
is
whatever.
Is this app sponsoring our show?
Yes, it's sponsoring our show. This is brought to you by Speechify. Now, if anybody from Speechify is listening,
yes,
I just advertised for you.
Yes.
And everybody's going to buy it tomorrow. So there you go. Well, the Gifts of Imperfection. So last week we talked about week 7. Oh my gosh. My dog just got tied to a cord. He's still on the cord. He's still doing something. Call the cops. There he Well, that was interesting.
Letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth.
We forgot to bring up Iggy.
Well, I didn't. I said Iggy a little while ago.
Oh, hi, Iggy.
Hello.
Iggy.
I said his name.
Thank you so much for keeping our sound. My wife is here and she's pointing to herself. So,
yes.
Hi, Patty.
Thank you for our audience.
All right. What'd you say Guidepost 7 is?
I don't know. I lost the page already. See?
Guidepost 7.
Please.
Guidepost 7. Cultivating play and rest, letting go of his job.
Exhaustion as a status symbol of productivity as self-worth.
Yeah. So last week's was really interesting because of the fact that many people do find it. It's interesting right now because
you know what I loved about that one? I don't mean to cut you off, but I know I did cut you off. But you know what I loved about that one? How many times is there a person in your life? I'm thinking of someone, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm thinking of someone that every time I see this person, I'm like, how are you?
I'm so tired.
I had to do this and I haven't slept and and it's just like every time I hear them, I'm almost exhausted. And it almost becomes like, oh, we're going to see that person today. I don't know if I necessarily want to because they kind of bring me down. There's never I'm great. How are you? Or, you can be truthful of how you feel, but there's always this like long drawn out.
Well, and the truth is that this is.
But she wears it as a badge of honor.
Right.
That's why I'm saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that there's the idea that if I'm busy, then I'm productive and I'm getting things done. And so look at me, look how busy I am. And so I think that's part of what that whole Guidepost was, is the idea that, hey, that's not necessarily the best way to live a wholehearted life. It's just not the way to do it.
Right.
But it is true. Oh my goodness. There are so many people that you ask them how they are and their number one answer is, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm tired, or I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. All these things, which actually quite, to be honest with you, could be true. And this goes into therapy and other things that you might want to be looking into. But some people are doing it for exactly what you just said, and that's the whole Guidepost is they're doing it. They actually are doing it because they think it's somehow a very positive attribute, and it just shows
to never have rest.
Yeah, not be and to just work and work and work,
Yeah.
and somehow that's like you said, a badge of honor. So today's Guidepost though is that's
Cultivating calm and stillness, letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle.
Yeah, so anxiety.
This is good.
This one is very good. Did something in particular resonate with you, or what was your thought?
Well, you know what's really interesting? I kind of touched on it a little bit this morning, or right now with you about this morning. I read this actually yesterday, and so it was very interesting because. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So the reason I didn't go work out in the first place was because I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat. My allergies have been kind of acting up with me lately, and so I was like, is this an allergy thing, or is it like, am I coming down with a cold? I didn't know. But in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a rest day from the gym and just kind of lay low, have coffee, have my new dog on my lap and relax. Then I decided, wait, since I am home, I'm going to clean the house before I go to work. So Kylie, I can just hang out after work and maybe, get a coffee or whatever, and then go to the grocery store, and then I'll come home and she'll have already had her voice lesson.
So wait a minute. Earlier, you made it sound like I stayed home for my daughter.
I told Kylie I stayed
and
home for her.
now you're saying I stayed home because I was sick.
I told Kylie I stayed home for her. Don't tell her that I really had a sore throat.
So
I'm just kidding. No, that was my initial. So so now that's why I'm saying about this guidepost, how as I was doing what I was doing this morning, it resonated because I was walking around very anxious because I was upset with myself that I couldn't sit down and relax and have my coffee. I was like, now my dog is at my feet and biting at me as I'm walking through. She's never seen me walk around and clean the house. You know what I mean?
As opposed to you being
nice
able
and
to
relax. Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And so
instead of embracing rest and calm, I had to be busy and doing stuff.
And it was very interesting because Kylie woke up at one point and I said, see what I'm doing for you so you can have the house and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, Mommy, like she could see, I didn't even have to like say much or whatever. She could see it in my face. She goes, Mommy, just breathe. And I was like,
interesting.
And I was like, wow, is it really showing? She goes, I can sense it. So what's interesting to me is I had read this yesterday, still kept it in my mind, like just go with the flow, be calm about it.
Right.
It's an anxious situation right now because you're trying to do it quickly so you can get ready to go to work. The dog needs your attention. But at the same time, even though I was aware of this, it was very hard to separate it.
Well, I think anxiety, for one thing that I discovered, I think I talked to you about this in regards to school, is I don't know. I would say in general, I'm not an anxious person.
Right.
In general, I'm not an anxious person. I don't get stressed out. Even when I'm really super busy, I don't think I completely freak out, but I have recognized that when I have a lot going on, the people that pay for it most is probably Patty. And it's not, I don't think Patty's here, so she could tell me like, no, but I don't think I get like really rude or mean, or I don't think I do anything like that or totally freak out. But I think what I do is I kind of eat. I eat inappropriately. I also, even if I'm not doing something because my brain is doing something, because it's thinking about the things that I have to do, then sometimes I start that translates into other people, like seeing on my face, whether I don't know if they actually see it, but at least I feel like I'm not myself. I'm not present right now. I'm not here. And that's when I kind of realized and then the other thing that I realized that's really important to me, because she didn't say this, or I don't think she did. I don't remember her saying it. For me, what helps me with anxiety, and I don't know if this is true, we'll talk about what she says too, or you can share whatever, but what happens to me when I'm starting to feel anxious is I write everything down that I think I need to do.
That's huge.
Because it gets it out of my head. Yeah. If it's stuck in my head, then I'm constantly thinking, wait a minute, I got to do that thing. I got to do that thing. I got to do that thing. When I put it on paper, and then I use an app, and I do this, and I actually have it come up on a certain day. So then when it pops up, it's like, I know I've thought about that. I don't have to, keep it. It doesn't have to be in my RAM memory anymore in my head.
Well, you know what's interesting that you said that, because I do that. Like, obviously this morning, that wasn't a time to let me write stuff down that won't, because it was just a matter of getting what I need to get done at that moment and then get myself out to work. But what's interesting about writing stuff down is a lot of times all these tabs are open in my head and I'm thinking, okay, don't forget this. And then I have to do that. And then as soon as I write it down, I'm like, there's not even really that
No,
much
it's
stuff.
not that much
you know what I
stuff.
mean? Why
No,
does it feel like
exactly.
there's like 1,000 things in my head?
Right.
And then once it's down, it's out of my head. I almost feel this calmness instantly.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then what's interesting is that some of those things that you're referring to, you can actually go, I don't even have to do this today.
Exactly.
It can be done whenever. And that's why I say I use this app and I'm able to say it. But that's my personality though. But in terms of the book, something stood out to me and I was very interested to hear your opinion because it talks about siblings. And she actually does this, I've read a lot of her stuff and heard her and different things. She talks about her siblings, and because she has two sisters or three sisters, I'm not sure. Brené Brown, I'm referring to, the author of the book. But I'm wondering what your thought was when she talked about over-functioning and under-functioning. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it just talks about the idea that we each have a different personality. And when we're under those anxious times, she uses a story, not in the book, so I'm going to tell you something, of her mom getting really sick. And when she got really sick, she immediately, she had to deal with it. And she is an overfunctioner. And so she went into, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And okay, we need that. And then she would like take it away from the person because she would say, wait a minute, you're not going to know what to do. So I'll go do that too. And I'll go do that too. And she would do that. And then there was another person who's under functioning, like they're more like chill, sit back and wonder, they deal with the anxiety in a different way. I'm curious to know what your opinion is of me, you and Stephanie. Like what is our functioning and what is yours? So I surprised you.
Well, you know what? It's really interesting because I feel like I feel like I'm an overfunctioner because I feel like I'm also very type A, and then I also feel like I don't think that somebody can do something as good as I can, if you will. And I don't mean to say that I do everything perfect. I'm just like, I know I want it done this way, so therefore I'm going to take over it. I'm not very good about delegating. So
when let me ask you. So you're talking about tasks in general. I'm curious to know what your thought is when something big pops up. Some big mom gets sick. Would you go into over functioning or under functioning? How would you deal with that stress?
Let's identify the two, because I think my personality would be more of, let's sit back and assess the situation. I'm not going to react until do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, totally.
I definitely, I'm also a questioner, so I would want to know everything before I made a decision about something. So maybe I would be an under functioner. Is that I'm trying to remember what the definitions were.
No, that's it.
Okay,
that's exactly it. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you a story about when Patty and I were going to the mission field. We went to this place to prepare you for it. And one of the things that they were going to prepare you for is actually getting kidnapped, believe it or not, because of many countries. Yeah, because of where we're going and where a lot of people go and so on. And it was interesting, but it also just had to do with dealing with stress and different things like this. But what they did was, and they totally surprised us, we had no idea. They separated us in two different groups. They put us inside a cardboard box. Literally, there's about 8 of us in this large cardboard box in each side. And then they played like sounds in the background that were very not spooky, but like gunshots, and they wanted it to feel like you were in the jungle, like you were literally being kidnapped. And then they would walk in, somebody would step into a little area where, like, the little doorway, that's the wrong term, and they would play out a scenario, and they would just say whatever the scenario was, and they put it. Well, here's where I'm going to go, because I just painted the picture, right? We're inside this dark room. You can't see anything. You're in this cardboard box. It's amazing how within 5 minutes, I think we all of a sudden start to feel like this is real, even though it's clearly not. But they did a very good job of making you feel like there's something wrong. And what I found fascinating in there, and Patty was in a different group. They purposely put spouses in different groups. They didn't want that kind of community. They wanted you to have a different feel.
Right.
And what was interesting is when we were inside there, I was inside there, and there was another guy, and it was like 2 seconds. Like they read one little script, and then this guy goes, okay, We need someone to go over here. We need someone to go over here. We need this. We need this. We need this. And I went, this dude is an over functioner.
Yeah. You knew that at the time?
No.
Okay, right now you're identifying him. Okay.
Identifying. No, I just knew that he had a different personality than me. And I didn't even really listen to him.
Right.
I was processing, what do we really need to do in this moment?
Right.
That was the way I was thinking
and
about
that's
it.
exactly how I would probably feel too.
And so I totally chilled out. And then, a matter of fact, I wanted to hear what other people thought. And this guy was dominating. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, and then I remember one woman said, well, I'm thinking this. And then he goes, no, 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 no. And I actually, and this is when my underfunctioning came out, because I literally went to him and I literally said, shh, let her finish. And I actually was a little surprised that I did it, but it was interesting because for me, it's like, I need information.
Yes.
I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I can't just simply just go, hey, we're done here.
Yeah.
And then when she was finished, it wasn't like we did everything that she said, but I said, I actually remember saying this specifically. I said, do you feel heard?
Yeah.
And she said, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we went on to do whatever we did, because that's irrelevant what we did. Okay. So the point though is that we just went and did whatever we were supposed to do. Now, the thing that I thought was really, really interesting was Patty's, on the other hand, their group ran it totally differently, because she told me later on, and they were just like blah, 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 blah. And I think you weren't blah, 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 blah. No, Patty would have been quiet. But so now I'm going to say, you're in that situation, you're quiet. What do you think Stephanie is?
Oh, she's an over.
Yeah.
For
See,
sure.
that's what I was thinking.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
70 would want to take control and go for it.
Yeah. And it's funny that, because you're right. I was thinking about like a task. You know what I mean? When you first asked me that.
Right.
But 100% I would be, no, we need to assess it. And I would want to hear everybody's opinions. And I would still be sitting back. I feel myself as a wallflower, like listening to all of it and then making an informed decision about the next.
Well, and what was interesting with it, and I didn't do this on purpose, it was just the reality, but what ended up happening was, because we were in there for maybe a half hour or an hour, something like that. And what it felt like forever, but we were in there for long enough that it was a very real thing that was going on. But what I thought was fascinating was people looked to me as the leader because of these little things, even though I wasn't. Right. So it's interesting, because I think overachievers think I need to lead this thing.
Right.
That guy lost his credibility when he wasn't listening.
Exactly.
When he went into over. Now, I don't want to say overachievers are bad, though.
No.
That's not the point.
Sometimes you need that, but personality types, I think, are you can learn from both of them and have
recognizing the role, because Patty's room, I think there was an overachiever and he led it and people liked the way he led it and he finished it. And John did it. And I remember thinking that it was like, he was like, he took over, he did it. They kind of said, this is what we're going to do. And so, but he had a personality of, he's still listening. He's still trying to figure out what everybody is, but he was like, we're going to get this done.
Right.
And the point though, that I really want to do is that I think both extremes are bad.
Sure.
Because if you're an overachiever without listening, that's going to be bad. If you're an underachiever who doesn't
take any action, exactly,
that's going to be bad as well.
Yeah,
and it's going to be bad in a relationship. It's going to be bad for your life, and it really, if we don't understand each other, if I don't understand that Stephanie is that way, I'm going to be pissed that she is overachieving. Like I'm going to be like, stop it! You don't get to tell me what to do. But if I understand that this is her immediate response, and if she doesn't understand that I think differently and process differently, she's going to say, why don't you want to do anything?
Well, I was going to say, like, a lot, I would imagine like an overachiever might look at somebody and say, like us, and say something like, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you giving me any input? And it's like, I'm processing all of it. You know what I mean? I'm taking it all in. And so yeah, it's to recognize it, especially if you have like maybe a partner that you're opposite each other too. Yeah.
I thought it was but I really liked talking about that. I really liked it because I immediately related it to us. And I think it's interesting how you and I, well, obviously we're doing this podcast, but I think that you and I think we have a very similar personality in that regard. We in regards to when we get anxious, when something comes up, when something is going to drive us to a point where we're going,
right.
What do we do? What do we do in this situation?
Right.
Rather than us going, I need to make something happen, we go deep breath, and then we evaluate.
100%. I'm definitely a person that isn't quick to react, which might make some people, frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting.
But no, I was like, but you're right. And I was, she does talk a little bit about this in the book, which I felt it kind of resonated with me, because when you are around somebody that's very anxious, you tend to get anxious.
Yes.
And so she was saying that anxious is extremely contagious, but so is calm.
Yes.
And so that was fascinating, because it's like, okay, when I'm around somebody that's very anxious, I need to maybe just ground myself a little bit and be that calm person, so that maybe it will help them become calm. Although, sorry, when I was married to my ex, who, I don't know, I wouldn't call him an anxious person, but when he was very vocal and volatile, if you will, when I was calm, it frustrated him.
Oh, yeah.
So and that's how I was as a person. I mean, that's how I am as a person, a calm person. And so, I was like, oh, wait, then I need to react. I need to react so that he's not frustrated with my calmness,
right.
So that's,
that is an interesting, that's a different thing though, because that's a dysfunction, like a maladaptive behavior. That's something that's you guys, that's a different thing altogether.
It is.
Because
because you're right, it's not really okay.
Because I'm thinking more.
We could do the rewind on that one too.
Because I'm thinking more of because I mean what I'm saying is that there's a lot to take into consideration with that, because you were a person who, I mean, I don't remember everything we shared, and I don't want to talk about it, but you've had to deal with a lot of crud there.
Yeah.
So you were trying to compensate for that.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different. In a normal situation, even in your current situation where your husband he said he's had issues in the past with anger, but he still doesn't respond like that. So you would respond more you wouldn't try to respond for him.
Sure.
And that's what was happening.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
In the past. But I really did like but I thought that was really interesting. The idea of being calm can be contagious as much as anxiety. And what's interesting, when I read that, the first thing that came to my mind, and I know this is just because of the way I think, is sports. And what I think about is, in football, and I'm a Chiefs fan, go Chiefs. And so all I know is that when the quarterback has the ability to lead, the team follows. That's just all there is to it. And so I remember Tom Brady was talking about quarterbacks, because now he's retired and people are asking him. And I thought it was a really interesting thing, because people asked him what he thinks about the current generation of really good quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is definitely one of the top the top quarterback, no doubt, right now playing. And I'm not a person saying he's the GOAT. Okay. I'm just saying he can be one day, but he's not. But Tom Brady has the most rings. And so we're going to go with that. But what he said, Tom Brady, is it's about leadership. And then I'm going to go one step farther, and I'm going to say it's not like leadership is one thing, but part of that is the personality that person has. And it doesn't matter the situation. Mahomes doesn't get anxious.
Yeah.
He keeps the guys. What's interesting is he keeps them both calm and focused, but he keeps them driven. Like they're still highly motivated to win the game. Because there's one thing to be calm and focused and go, okay, give me, I just want a tea.
I want to go take a nap. Yeah.
But there's another thing to say.
He's just grounded, right?
Yes.
And
It's like, we are still, I mean, you can hear him on the sideline saying stuff, play our game. And they're losing by 10 points in the Super Bowl. And he's like, play our game.
Right.
It's like, he just is like this, and he always is like, I don't want to say he's always poised, because he does get mad, and that's just being a competitive spirit, but he doesn't take it out on the other guys. And the other guys, he comes once he, has his little hissy fit. That's a really bad term, probably. Once he goes freaks out, he comes back.
Yeah.
And I think about all the major athletes that really have made an impact on people. You see their personality, and they can really make things happen in a good way.
And when you brought up sports, I thought of Steve Yzerman, who was the captain for the Red Wings for a long time. And same thing, like when you heard him talk, when you saw him on the bench with his teammates, he was the captain, and he grounded the team. Like he was very, if he got upset or what didn't have that kind of spirit or that kind of a, calmness in him, I think it would make the other players anxious, you know?
Well, the thing that's really interesting too, though, is that then you have the other quarterbacks. You have Brock Purdy, and he's incredibly calm. But I would say he's so calm that it's like, where's the drive, dude?
Yeah,
not to say that he's not competitive.
Well, I just think, like you said, and you brought up sports because that's where you go. And when I read this, a lot of the places I went with it were the students I work with, whether it's a child with autism or ADHD or whatever. If I reacted with my student who happens to, have an anxiety attack, or it's got too loud and now they're very, very anxious and they're, almost flapping and they're, stemming and they're, hitting their ears. I don't look at them with an anxious personality and go, you got to stop that. Why are you doing that? Why are you, keeping them, I walk over behind them and I put pressure on their shoulders and I'm saying, it's okay. Do you want to go take a walk outside? You keep your calm voice, whatever. And it does bring them down a little bit. And it's like, I just feel like you feed off whatever you're fed. And so if you would match his anxiety. Yeah, if I looked over and said, oh my God, you're right. It's so loud. Why is it so loud? Everybody got to stop being so loud.
And he's just going to escalate.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the very same thing. I think it's just it is a huge thing how we respond. I think it's fair to say that we had a dad who would respond, for a big, I'll never forget the time that I think I might have said this, where we were all sleeping in the living room and then a car happened to run into the tree in front of our house.
We were sleeping in the living room?
Yeah. We were like having one of those, well, I don't know how
a slumber
party in the living room.
Oh, okay.
But we were sleeping in the living room. I don't know if we had friends over too. Maybe we did.
Oh yeah, I think I remember like on a Friday night we could all sleep in our sleeping bags on the floor.
And so we were in the front room and we were laying there, and then a car hit the tree and it swung over onto the yard, and Dad came running in there. I mean, just a bull in a china shop, just and that was his personality.
Right.
It's like I
a reaction.
Very overachieving. I gotta do whatever. And Mom, on the other hand, was like, "Is everybody okay?"
Yeah.
Is like, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to bed now.
Right.
It's like
there's nothing we can do about it now.
Yeah. It's like it's already done. It was like there was two very, very different personalities when in terms of responding to it.
Right.
And I think that the real thing isn't whether you're an overachiever or an underachiever. The real thing is, okay, what do we do when we identify that we're in that situation?
Sure.
How can we get out of it and not stay in that same place?
One of the things, or two of the things that she talks about is being stillness, practicing stillness and being calm.
Right.
And the funny thing about the stillness part is, okay, we kind of talked a little bit about calm, but the stillness part, when I first read the word stillness, I thought, okay, does she mean sit in a chair and just be still?
Right.
Which I have done many times. Just sit in my living room, no TV on, no phone in my hand, and then somebody will even walk in the house and go, "What are you doing?" I'm just sitting here, and it really does just kind of bring you back to a place where,
right.
But she also says she will just go for a walk. She goes, I know that's not necessarily being still, but it's my time. It's where I can pull myself in, reel in, I don't even know how she worded it, to be honest with you, but she
said stillness actually drove me crazy because I felt like I had to stop talking about something. She says, okay, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about anything. Yes, milk, laundry, detergent. Stop. Okay, I'm not thinking about anything. Not thinking about everything.
Yeah.
And so then she goes on to say, stillness is not about focusing on nothingness. It's about creating a clearing.
Yeah.
It's opening up an emotional clutter-free space and allowing ourselves to feel and think and dream and question.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that idea.
Yeah, and that's why, and I related to her when she said, there's a part I believe she said it in this chapter where she said something about yoga. I personally have never done yoga because I think I don't know if I could sit there and not think about anything and just breathe and do these movements and but it's not necessarily about not thinking about anything.
So you want to hear something really interesting for a guy like me? We're almost out of time. So,
okay.
I went on a silent retreat.
Oh boy.
For 4 days.
Oh.
And so
I've heard of that.
So when we woke up in the morning, we couldn't speak to anybody at all until until I think it was lunchtime. So the whole and when they told us, don't even say hi to people, don't do that, because then you're messing them up because they want it. So even when you're going to eat, you grab your food, you go sit down, or you go. I don't remember how we did everything. This was years ago. And then even when we could speak, we didn't just talk. It was like there was certain kinds of things that you could do, and then they did a bunch of different things with centering prayer, these kind of things that tried to do mindfulness, really trying to get you centered. But what was fascinating is some people really took things literally, and I thought it was so fascinating because they would say, okay, we want you to focus on a word, any word that's bringing you peace and serenity, something. Just focus. It doesn't matter what the word is. It could be love. It could be the color red. It literally could be anything that you want. And then there were people that would talk about it later when we had our little discussion, and they were like, I get so frustrated because I couldn't stay focused on the word. And I was just like, every time I got off the word, I just go, I got off the word. I'm going to go back now.
on to it. Yes.
Yeah, it was like, I just thought, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
But that's like that's that whole idea that, for me, stillness is that idea that, okay, there's just sometimes we just need to, hit the refresh button, or what, in the old days we'd say control alt delete, and it would restart the computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we kind of need to do that at times for ourselves, because we, it just kind of messes up.
And we kind of touched on it, like having all these tabs open in our brain. I think today's day and age, people think, oh, I'm just sitting here with my phone and I'm scrolling. And it's like, that's not necessarily exactly what you should be doing.
As a matter of fact, I would say scrolling is like it's so bad. Our little brains just,
oh my gosh,
you can't stop it. So, well, I have no idea if you listener got anything out of this, but I hope you did. I think, did you want to say something to end it? Anything that you want to final
do you
thought?
want to do the dig deep and stuff?
Oh yeah,
well,
of course. I forgot. It's really long, so I don't know how.
Well, we can just dig deep and we can get going. The dig deep says, my anxiety detox included more calm and more stillness. So she had to literally do an anxiety detox, which I think is important for most people who don't even think they're anxious. Like, just kind of detox it by trying to include more calm and stillness. But anyway, she said it also included for her more exercise and less caffeine. I know so many people who take something at night to help them sleep and drink caffeine all day to stay awake. Calm and stillness are potent medicine for general sleeplessness and lack of energy. So, okay, increasing my daily intake of calm and stillness along with walking and swimming and cutting caffeine has done wonders in my life. So sometimes, you can think, oh, I'm going to be calm and still. But if there are other things that are keeping you from being calm and still, like maybe caffeine or, or a sleepless night.
Or the other thing is, I have this sometimes too, where somebody goes to bed at 2:00 in the morning, and when they're telling me that they really want to get up early in the morning, and it's like, if you really want to. And so you adjust your schedule so that you're actually going to bed at 10 or I don't know what time you want to wake up, but get inspired. And this has to do with the over and under functioning idea, and just making it so that we identify who we are and then how to move on and get going. Do you want to read that?
No, go for it.
Experiment with different forms of still and quiet. We all need to find something that works for us. To be honest, I'm never more open and emotionally clutter-free than when I'm walking alone outside. It's technically not still, but it's an emotional opening for me. I know for me, I nowadays I walk twice a day. One of them is about 35 minutes and the other one's about 15. And I love those times. Now, one of them is with Patty, where we just get to kind of decompress our day and walk with our dog. But I just love that idea of just getting out and being able to chill. So,
and it can even be like, and this is, again, isn't stillness, because technically you're driving a car, but don't turn the radio on. Don't, you know what I mean? Just drive in quietness and just be with your thoughts and kind of clear your cluttered mind.
Yeah. Get a Tesla, close your eyes.
Get a driver.
Anyway, well, this was fun. I always like this book. I always like doing the podcast. And hey, guys, we're thinking of our next series, because there's only 2 more guideposts. So we're thinking of our next series. If you have any ideas, we'd love to hear from you at Bennie Gonzalez on Instagram. You could DM me. or leave a comment in YouTube. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. And our Daily Dose of Cocoa is where you can find me.
Yeah. So it would be great to hear from you.
And you can find Iggy Meister on...
Iggy. Iggy owns the word. What is yours? Well, this was a good ending.
He's so good with all this
sound stuff.
Yeah.
You don't even know how to call it.
I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll put it inside the things. But we would love to hear from you guys. And we do have some ideas right now, but if you guys want to try and influence, that would be
awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
All right, Valerie Lynn.
Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
A wonderful week. Enjoy yourselves. Make it a great week.
Yes. Live a wholehearted life. Can we keep
How
going? Okay, bye.
Thanks, everybody. Ciao.